Story 1 of 12. US VP JD Vance visits Hungary to support Viktor Orbán ahead of pivotal election. US VP JD Vance visits Hungary to support Viktor Orbán ahead of pivotal election. Here's what every outlet agrees on. JD Vance visited Budapest on April 8, 2026, to support Viktor Orbán in Hungary's election, which was held on April 14, 2026. Vance called Donald Trump on speakerphone during a rally in Budapest on April 8, 2026, where Trump endorsed Orbán, calling him a fantastic man. Peter Magyar, a former Fidesz member and opposition leader, is leading in polls against Orbán, with Tisza Party projected to win a supermajority in some projections. Orbán has been Prime Minister of Hungary for 16 years, facing allegations of corruption, authoritarianism, and ties to Russian influence. Russia is accused of interfering in Hungary's election, including through disinformation networks and alleged intelligence operations to support Orbán. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian and ABC report Orbán is trailing Peter Magyar by up to 20 percentage points in polls, but Vance publicly claimed Orbán would win the election. Vance accused the EU of election interference while the EU spokesperson rejected the claim, stating Vance's visit itself showed who was interfering. Some sources, Guardian, ABC, emphasize Orbán's authoritarian tendencies and corruption, while Vance and Orbán's rhetoric portray Hungary as a great example of energy independence and sovereignty. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, and news.com.au. Story 2 of 12. Australia's fuel crisis and Albanese's Singapore visit to secure energy supplies amid Middle East conflict. Australia's fuel crisis and Albanese's Singapore visit to secure energy supplies amid Middle East conflict. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Anthony Albanese is visiting Singapore, April 2026, to meet Prime Minister Lawrence Wong to discuss fuel supply amid Australia's fuel crisis, with the meeting brought forward from later in the year. Singapore is Australia's largest source of petrol, 55% of imports, second largest source of diesel, 15%, and third largest source of jet fuel, 22%, accounting for 26% of Australia's total refined fuel imports. Australia imports 90% of its liquid fuels, with Singapore supplying about half of Australia's monthly fuel shipments, around 40 out of 80 shipments. Singapore's refineries, on Jurong Island, process up to 1.5 million barrels of crude oil per day but have cut output due to disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz, with one refinery, Singapore Refining Company, operating at 60% capacity. Australia is Singapore's second largest supplier of liquefied natural gas, LNG, providing 32% of Singapore's LNG needs, which is critical for Singapore's power generation, 95% dependent on imported LNG. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian states diesel prices rose by 10 cents per litre after a brief reprieve following fuel excise cuts, while ABC does not mention a specific price increase for diesel. ABC suggests Singapore's government has limited ability to mandate fuel exports due to private ownership of refineries, while Newscom.au implies Singapore's government can influence supply decisions through diplomatic assurances. The Guardian reports that wholesale unleaded prices stopped falling in early April 2026, while ABC does not provide a specific date for price stagnation. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, news.com.au, and SBS News. Story 3 of 12. Wild chimpanzees in Uganda's Kibale National Park split into rival groups, waging lethal civil war. Wild chimpanzees in Uganda's Kibale National Park split into rival groups, waging lethal civil war. Here's what every outlet agrees on. The study was published in the journal *Science* on April 2026, documenting the first observed civil war in wild chimpanzees. The conflict occurred in Uganda's Kibale National Park, home to the largest known group of wild chimpanzees. Researchers from the University of Texas, led by Aaron Sandell, monitored the chimpanzees continuously since 1995 as part of the Ngogo Chimpanzee Project. The first sign of tension was on June 24, 2015, when Western and Central cluster chimpanzees avoided each other after a failed reunion attempt. By 2018, the group had permanently split into two rival factions, the Western and Central chimpanzee groups. But not all outlets told the same story. The ABC article states the group had 144 documented or inferred infanticides by Western males, while The Guardian mentions 17 infant deaths but does not specify if this includes inferred cases. The ABC article notes the group's fission was evident based on social, spatial, and reproductive data by 2018, while The Guardian implies the split was solidified by 2018 but does not explicitly state the same evidence basis. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Story 4 of 12. Queensland man charged with $1.1 million diesel fuel theft scheme. Queensland man charged with $1.1 million diesel fuel theft scheme. Here's what every outlet agrees on. A 48-year-old man was charged with stealing $1.1 million worth of diesel fuel between December 2024 and December 2025. The thefts occurred at unmanned depots in Parkinson, Bundamba, and Karawata, Brisbane's southern and western suburbs. Police raided a Greenbank property on March 24, 2026, recovering stolen property and a homemade taser. The man was charged with 2 counts of receiving tainted property and 2 counts of fraud, value greater than or equal to $100,000. The suspect was remanded in custody after appearing in Richlands Magistrates Court on March 15, 2026, and is due to reappear on May 15, 2026. But not all outlets told the same story. News Kamau states the man first appeared in court on March 15, 2026, while ABC reports March 25, 2026. News Kamau lists 1 count each of enter premises and commit indictable offence and unlawful possession of weapons, category DHR, but ABC does not mention these specific charges. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au. Story 5 of 12. Man charged with murder after partner's suspicious death in NT kangaroo crash claim. Man charged with murder after partner's suspicious death in NT kangaroo crash claim. Here's what every outlet agrees on. A 33-year-old man was charged with murder over the death of his 27-year-old female partner, who was found dead on the Barkly Highway near Tennant Creek on April 7, 2026, around 5:50 a.m. The man initially reported to police that his partner was not breathing after a Jeep Grand Cherokee allegedly hit a kangaroo on the Barkly Highway near Barkly Homestead. Police found the woman dead in the vehicle with visible facial injuries and have been unable to find evidence of a kangaroo strike. The man was in custody since April 7, 2026, and was charged with murder on April 10, 2026, after police suspected assault. The couple had been travelling from Gympie, Queensland, passing through Banban Springs, Emerald, Winton, Cloncurry, Mount Isa, and Camooweal before reaching the NT. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 3, ABC, states the woman was not formally identified as of April 7, 2026, while Articles 1, 2, and 4, ABC Guardian, confirm her age as 27 and her origin as the Sunshine Coast by April 9 to 10, 2026. Article 3, ABC, does not mention the man being charged with murder, only that he was assisting police as of April 7, 2026, while Articles 1, 2, and 4 confirm the charge was filed by April 10, 2026. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Story 6 of 12. Australian tennis player Talia Gibson loses Billie Jean King Cup qualifier to British teen Mika Stojsavljevic. Australian tennis player Talia Gibson loses Billie Jean King Cup qualifier to British teen Mika Stojsavljevic. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Talia Gibson, ranked 56, lost to Mika Stojsavljevic, ranked 275, in the Billie Jean King Cup qualifier at Melbourne's John Cain Arena on April 10, 2026, with scores 7-6, 7-4, 7-5. Gibson had 5 break points in the second set but failed to convert them, with Stojsavljevic winning the match. Kimberly Birrell, ranked 80, will face Harriet Dart, ranked 173, in the second singles match of the tie. The match took place on Friday, April 10, 2026, as the opening match of the Billie Jean King Cup qualifier. Stojsavljevic served 12 aces in the match, including 3 in the final game. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian and ABC mentioned Stojsavljevic had a 4-0 lead in the tiebreak after Gibson's backhand error, but Newskamau does not specify the exact lead in the tiebreak. Newskamau states Gibson had 5 break points in the second set, while Guardian and ABC describe her having 5 break points in a marathon game but do not specify if it was in the second set exclusively. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, and news.com.au. Story 7 of 12. NASA's Artemis II crew returns to Earth after historic lunar flyby mission. NASA's Artemis II crew returns to Earth after historic lunar flyby mission. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Artemis II crew, Victor Glover, Reed Wiseman, Christina Koch, Jeremy Hansen, will splash down off the coast of San Diego, California, on Friday, April 11, 2026, at approximately 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time, 8:07 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:07 a.m. UK time on April 12. The Orion capsule will re-enter Earth's atmosphere at nearly 24,000 miles per hour, 38,624 kilometers per hour, or 40,000 kilometers per hour, creating temperatures exceeding 2,500 degrees Celsius or 10,000 degrees Celsius near the shockwave. The crew module and service module will separate at 4:33 p.m. Pacific Time, 7:33 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:33 a.m. UK time, with the service module burning up in Earth's atmosphere. Orion's entry interface will occur at 4:53 p.m. Pacific Time, 7:53 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:53 a.m. UK time, followed by drogue parachute deployment at 5:03 p.m. Pacific Time and main parachutes shortly after, leading to splashdown at 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. The USS John P. Murtha will assist in recovery operations, which will take between 1 and 1.5 hours. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian states the Orion capsule will travel at nearly 24,000 miles per hour during re-entry, while ABC states it will reach 40,000 kilometers per hour, approximately 24,855 miles per hour. The Guardian mentions a brief blackout during re-entry, while ABC specifies a 40-minute communication blackout behind the moon's far side earlier in the mission. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Story 8 of 12. Queensland High Court appeal over reduced sentence for Emma Lovell's killer. Queensland High Court appeal over reduced sentence for Emma Lovell's killer. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Emma Lovell, a British woman, was fatally stabbed in the chest during a home invasion at North Lakes, Brisbane, on Boxing Day 2022. The killer, aged 17 years and 8 months at the time of the attack, now 20, pleaded guilty in 2024 to armed burglary and murder and was sentenced to 14 years in prison. Under Queensland law at the time, a person under 18 could not be detained for more than 70% of their sentence unless it was a particularly heinous crime or would be life imprisonment if they were an adult. The original sentencing judge, Justice Tom Sullivan, ruled the crime was heinous and found no special circumstances to reduce the 70% detention requirement. The Queensland Court of Appeal reduced the detention period to 60% of the 14-year sentence, citing special circumstances such as the killer's remorse and prospects for rehabilitation. But not all outlets told the same story. Newskamau states the killer was aged 17 and 8 months at the time of the attack, while ABC refers to him as a 17-year-old boy without specifying months, potentially implying a broader age range. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au. Story 9 of 12. Peter Dutton appointed to Queensland Investment Corporation Board post-politics. Peter Dutton appointed to Queensland Investment Corporation Board post-politics. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Peter Dutton was appointed to the board of the Queensland Investment Corporation, QIC, by the LNP-run state government on April 10, 2026. Former Labour MP Michael Choi was also appointed to the QIC board alongside Dutton. The appointments aim to focus on investment in Queensland's defence and critical minerals industries. Queensland is home to 51 of the world's most sought-after critical minerals, as stated by the state government. Treasurer David Janetsky, spelled as David Janetsky in ABC, stated the appointments bring world-class expertise to QIC. But not all outlets told the same story. The ABC spells Treasurer David Janetsky's name as David Janetsky, while Newskamau uses David Janetsky. Newskamau states the appointment was made almost a year after losing his seat at the 2025 federal election, while ABC does not specify a timeframe beyond the announcement date. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au. Story 10 of 12. Barry Jones reflects on his life, politics, and Australia's future at 93. Barry Jones reflects on his life, politics, and Australia's future at 93. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Barry Jones is 93 years old and describes himself as having an eye on the exit ramp. Jones suffered a fall in September 2025 while out to breakfast in Melbourne, resulting in a 3-point landing, head, buttock, spine. Jones spent 40 days in a Melbourne hospital and respite care after his fall, during which he wrote a piece for the Saturday paper comparing his leg to doing an Optus, communication lines cut. During his hospital stay, Jones was visited by Nobel laureate Peter Doherty, philosopher Ry Gator, ex-PM Malcolm Turnbull, and Teal MP Monique Ryan, among others. Jones met Vladimir Putin in 1990 in St. Petersburg, where Putin was described as a colorless figure who seemed unremarkable at the time. But not all outlets told the same story. No contradictions found between the two sources, as both articles are identical in text and content. This story was covered by Sydney Morning Herald and The Age. Story 11 of 12. Death of Afrika Bambatata and his legacy amid sexual abuse allegations. Death of Afrika Bambatata and his legacy amid sexual abuse allegations. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Afrika Bambatata, born Lance Taylor, died at age 67 from complications of cancer in 2026. He was a hip-hop pioneer known for founding the Universal Zulu Nation in the 1970s. His 1982 hit Planet Rock blended European electronic music with hip-hop. Sexual abuse allegations against him first surfaced in 2016, with multiple accusers coming forward. Bambatata denied the allegations in a 2016 statement, calling them baseless and a cowardly attempt to tarnish my reputation. But not all outlets told the same story. The ABC article states Bambatata died on the 10th of April, 2026, while The Guardian reports his death occurred on the 9th of April, 2026, with time of death around 3 a.m. Philadelphia time. The ABC article specifies Bambatata's death was reported at 6:20 and 41 seconds Universal Time coordinated on the 10th of April, 2026, but The Guardian does not provide an exact UTC timestamp, only a local Philadelphia time. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Story 12 of 12. Sentencing hearing for son who murdered and burned his mother in 2024. Sentencing hearing for son who murdered and burned his mother in 2024. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Shannon James Doble pleaded guilty to the murder of his mother, Neril Doble, 65, on January 2024 at Bribbury, NSW. Neril Doble died in Royal North Shore Hospital in Sydney the day after the attack, January 2024. Doble doused his mother with fuel and set her on fire, also burning down her house, after a disagreement over a jerry-can used for a lawnmower. Shannon Doble was living in a modified bus on his mother's property at Bribbury, NSW, at the time of the attack. Doble told his mother, "You're going to burn, bitch, or burn B***************, while attacking her. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC states Doble admitted to dousing his mother with fuel and setting her on fire ** following a disagreement regarding the use of a jerry can to fill up a lawnmower **, while Newskamau specifies the argument was over a * lost $11 Chuck key for his drill star. Newskamau claims Doble * hit his mother over the head with a jerry can 3 times * before setting the fire, but ABC does not mention this detail. Newskamau includes that * another person was kicked in the torso by Doble while trying to save Neril Doble *, a detail not reported by ABC. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au.